AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
Chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Yusuf. And Mr. Toby Tom Blake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Happy Friday, y'all. Hope you're making the best of it. Got a ton to do today. Terrio's back in 1 hour from right now. We might have a timeline on Kellen Moore. Naming a starting quarterback, but let's begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
All right, it was decision day for Darryus McKinley. Darryus McKinley, the younger brother of LSU five-star defensive tackle Dominic McKinley. And this afternoon, as expected, Darryus McKinley, choosing among LSU, Florida, Tennessee, and Texas, did in fact pick your Fighting Tigers of LSU. So the 6'3", 270-pound defensive lineman from Acadiana in Lafayette is going to follow in his brother's footsteps just down I-10 East, and he will be an LSU Tiger. I say this often, so this is not something I'm only saying now because Darryus McKinley is a 3-star. By the way, ESPN has him as a 4-star. But in the composite, which is now the Rivals industry ranking, of course, On3 and Rivals merge, or On3 bought Rivals, so it's now the Rivals industry ranking, which combines all the recruiting services. He is a 3-star, number 477 nationally, the number 48 defensive lineman. But the thing that I always say is I am far less concerned with your star rating, your national ranking, position ranking, all that stuff, than I am with who offered you. And Darryus McKinley chose LSU over Florida, Texas, Tennessee. He also had offers from Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Miami, Baylor, Syracuse, Louisville, Auburn, Missouri. That's a hell of a list. So if all those schools think you can play for them, that's a really good thing. So Darryus McKinley picks LSU. He becomes the 17th commit now for LSU's 2026 signing class. And there's a couple of things here that I think are particularly relevant when we look at McKinley and this class as a whole. So if we talk specifically about where McKinley fits, he is the 17th commit, but he's just the second interior defensive lineman. So Richard Anderson out of Endicott in New Orleans he's now the number 2 ranked interior defensive lineman in the country. Richard Anderson is the other interior defensive lineman committed in this class for LSU. So you've only got 2. It's important to note because a year ago, LSU signed 4. Now, Dylan Battle was one of them, if you remember, from Arlington, Texas. And he signed with LSU, and then Bo Davis left before spring. And so after spring, Dylan Battle went in the transfer portal and left LSU. So it left LSU with just 3 interior defensive linemen from last year's class. But as you look forward, how they've stockpiled the numbers at defensive tackle. So again, remember, we're talking 2026, so not this present season, but for next year. You're going to lose Bernard Gooden, who's a fifth-year senior, the transfer from South Florida, and you're going to lose Jacobian Guillory, who's a sixth-year senior. So those two guys are going to be gone. They're going to be out of eligibility. Both Sadir Mitchell and Sean Washington will have another year, should they choose to use it. Sadir Mitchell's actually got 2 more years if he wants, but in any event. Both could leave after this year, but both could be back. Dominic McKinley and Ahmad Bro will both be back for their junior seasons next season. That's 4. You've got the 3 guys that I just mentioned that are part of this most recent class for LSU, the 2025 class, the freshmen right now. Brown, Mathis. And then you're talking about adding this class of Richard Anderson and now Darryus McKinley. That puts you at 9. In theory, if nobody else leaves, 9 defensive tackles for next year on the interior. That is really good depth. And you could always find yourself looking for an impact player in the transfer portal should you need it. But with, in theory, next year, Dominic McKinley, Ahmad Bro as your junior starters, and then everyone else filling rotational spots behind him, you should be good. But again, if there's someone in the portal you want to go get, you get them, whatever. The other sort of asterisk here is there's one more defensive tackle, interior player, that LSU is still in the mix for, and that's Deuce Geralds. And Deuce Geralds is set to make his announcement on Saturday. So in less than 24 hours, we'll know if Deuce Geralds is going to pick LSU. Now, Shea Dixon was with us earlier this week, and Shea talked about Deuce Geralds, and it seemed like he was just reading the tea leaves with what Shea said, that Geralds might very well be an Oregon lean. If you're not familiar with the background there, Deuce Geralds, he lives in Georgia. His dad is from Scotlandville, played football at Ole Miss. He was recruited by Ed Ogeron and Frank Wilson. So naturally, Coach Frank having the in with Deuce Geralds there to get LSU in the mix. But Geralds is a massive prospect. He's 6'1", 268. He is the guy that carries all the lofty rankings. He's a composite 4-star. ESPN ranks him the number 40 overall player in the country at any position. In the Rivals Industry ranking, the composite, he's number 93 and the 8th best defensive tackle. So you're talking about a massive, massive prospect there, Deuce Geralds, which is set to announce on Saturday. If he picks LSU, that would give LSU a 3rd defensive tackle in this year's class for 2026. If he doesn't, I think you still feel good about your numbers. For whatever it's worth, again, it sounded like Shea was saying Gerald's probably leaning Oregon. I had a conversation today with someone close to the LSU program who really felt confident about LSU's opportunity to get him. I have no idea. I've never had a conversation with Deuce Geralds or anyone in his family, coaches, any of that stuff. So I'm not giving you any inside information. I'm just relaying what people close to this situation have said. And so we'll wait and see. I mean, crazy things happen in recruiting, and it's not even, you still got to get these guys, even if they're committed, you got to get them to December when they sign. But just to kind of lay out the numbers. The other thing that I think is significant about landing Darryus McKinley, and sometimes you think these things are a foregone conclusion, but I'll remind you, LSU signed Jacob Bradford in December. Blaine Bradford, his younger brother, the number 1 safety in the country for 2026, picked Ohio State. So sometimes just because you have the older brother on campus, it doesn't mean you're going to get the younger brother. Sometimes players want to forge their own path. That's fine if they do. That's not just in football. That's in school and life and everything. It's fine if they do. And sometimes you get 3 weeks brothers on the same team. Like everyone is different. But when you look at Louisiana, obviously Lamar Brown is the number 1 player in the state. He's the number 2 player in the country, regardless of position. He's committed to LSU. The number 2 player in the state is Blaine Bradford, who we mentioned, who's committed to Ohio State. After that, if you're just looking at the industry composite for the players in Louisiana, of the top 7 players, LSU has 6 of the top 7 committed. They got Lamar Brown committed. Then obviously Blaine Bradford's picked Ohio State. Richard Anderson, Jabari Mack, Bryson Martinez, Aiden Hall, Kenny Darby. 6 of the top 7 are all committed to LSU. And outside of that, they've been able to sort of cherry pick the ones that they want. Des Ellis is committed. He's the The defensive back out of Franklin Parish, who played corner at LSU. Isaiah Washington, who plays quarterback at Haynesville. Remember, we talked about him. He's going to be a safety at LSU. And now Darryus McKinley is committed to LSU. So they got the top guys in the state except for Bradford, 6 of the top 7. And then they've been able to cherry pick 3 of the other top guys in the state that they really wanted, which means they're putting together a very solid class. I know this is something we've talked about since Brian Kelly showed up on campus. When he first got here, he tried to build a staff that was sort of half LSU and half Kelly people that knew his culture, his expectations, all that sort of stuff. It has been a total evolution over 3 years, whereby the entire on-field staff are all people with ties to LSU or Louisiana. A lot of the analysts, of course, are Louisiana people. Lance Guidry, we forget, who was the DC at Miami, is now a defensive analyst. You're working with Blake Baker with the linebackers, a guy deeply connected in Louisiana. And then you look at the job that the support staff has done as well in recruiting. Austin Thomas and J.R. Belton, Donovan Tate, an incredible job putting the fence around Louisiana and keeping the best players home. They're clearly doing that here in 2026, with the lone exception being Bradford. And then 27 is just a massive year in the state. I mean, as big as 26 is, you look at 27, Easton Royal is the number 2 receiver in the country. Ahmad Hudson is the number 1 tight end in the country. Elijah Haven is the number 1 quarterback in the country. Albert Simeon is the number 2 interior offensive lineman in the country. He's out of Sam Houston and Lake Charles. I mean, you get the point. 27 is a gigantic bumper crop, and you have the crown jewel quarterback in the country in Baton Rouge. So building a staff that knows how to put the fence around the state is massive, and landing Darryus McKinley is another sort of check mark there. The one other little notation there is Darryus McKinley was his primary recruiter is Blake Baker. Secondary recruiter was not Kyle Williams. And now maybe this was just because there was a transition from Bo Davis to Kyle Williams, but his secondary recruiter for Darryus McKinley at LSU was Kevin Peoples, who's obviously coaches the edges at LSU. So there's a chance, I guess, that Darryus McKinley could get on campus and play edge if they need him there. But just when you look at guys like Damian Shanklin, who they recruited in this most recent class, and who they already have coming back with Gabe Relaford a year ago. There's Dylan Carpenter is still there as well. So a lot of talent in that edge group. And then in this class of 2026, my goodness, with Lamar Brown, the number 1 player in the country, another 5-star out of Florida committed in this class. They're loading up on that defensive line. And maybe the best way to say it is LSU went a dozen years having a defensive lineman selected in the NFL draft, and that well is run dry. It feels like when you look at that unit now, that room now, both at tackle and end, it's starting to look like it used to look when LSU was competing for championships every year. And it's a really encouraging sign moving forward. So Darryus McKinley becomes the 17th commit for the 2026 class. We'll wait and see about Deuce Geralds on Saturday, August 2nd, to see if he will become the 18th. All right, it's after further review. Our show open every day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. Man, big shout out to everybody who came out yesterday to Court to Table. We were there with our friends from Mockler Beverage as well, drinking some ice cold Bud Lights, watching the Hall of Fame game. We did AFR at Court to Table. We just appreciate so much the partnership that we have with Mockler Beverage, a great local company that's been servicing Baton Rouge for 40 years. They're such a great company, man. Great people at Mockler. It's hard to go to any charity event without seeing the Mockler logo, the Bud Light logo, any of those AB products, because they're so invested in our community. I mean, the number of times that they've written checks for charitable organizations that they don't even have a presence at because they're an adult beverage company, it would floor you. But that's what it means for Mockler to be committed to our communities. And, of course, they're not just in Baton Rouge. They're in Houma. They're in Lake Charles and Southwest Louisiana now as well. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR and the official beer of your Fighting Tigers of LSU. All right, let me knock out a quick break, y'all. Terrio's here in 45 minutes. We're looking forward to that conversation. When we come back, Kellen Moore. Did he lay out a timeline for naming a starting quarterback? We'll get into that next. It's AFR.
After further review.
Man, I love telling you about Duplessis Builders. because I love telling you about great companies that are local, that do right by their customer. And the reality is, I take very seriously my endorsement. I don't just endorse anybody that says, hey, we want to pay you to do our live reads. And it's because I know that if I tell you to call Duplessis and you call them and have a bad experience, that's a reflection on me. I'm telling you, if you call Duplessis Builders, have one conversation with Derek, go into their showroom on Airline Highway in Prairieville, right next to the new Rouse's at the corner of Airline and Duplessis Lane, incidentally. Go have one conversation, meet the folks. You will come away so impressed. Their process, they've got it down to a science of how they go through the entire design and build out, and they're very upfront with the timing and what it's going to take, and they will build you a pool that lasts. It's duplessisbuilders.net, duplessisbuilders.net.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
I'm glad to have you aboard with us here. Friday edition of AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Great opportunity this weekend to get on by Don Juan, grab you some sticks, enjoy a smoke, premium cocktail, watch whatever sporting event you'd like. Great spot right there in town center. Be a great spot, of course, during football season as well. Terrio's here next hour. Excited to get back on track with Terrio. I was in Mexico last week, so Terrio and I have done the Right Radio Hours once in like the last 5 weeks, so it's been a wild summer. But summer's coming to an end. I'm not taking another trip until we go up to Nashville for the LSU Vanderbilt game, which I'll tell you that is the one trip we're going to make. A lot of people have asked if we're going to Clemson. We're not going to Clemson. Honestly, a lot of that's just logistics. There's not really a great spot for all of us to stay and set up and everything in Clemson. So we're going to make the trip, and honestly, I've done the season opener thing and watched them lose. I'm tired of doing it. But so we're going to go to Nashville. The LSU Alumni Association is planning a great trip to Nashville. So we're going to do AFR that Friday before the Vanderbilt game on Broadway at one of the bars on Broadway in Nashville. We'll go to the game Saturday. It'll be a lot of fun. So we'll look forward to seeing a lot of y'all there if you're going to make that trip. The biggest talking point in Saints camp so far has obviously been the quarterbacks. It's just a transformative year. Drew Brees is retired. They went the veteran route with Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton, then Derek Carr. Derek Carr is retired. You all know the drill. They've drafted a quarterback each of the last 3 years. Hayner, Rattler, then this year, Shuck, number 40 overall, the highest they've drafted a quarterback since Archie Manning in the early 70s. I mean, you all know it by now. And so this has been a camp that has afforded us the opportunity to kind of look at a quarterback battle unlike any we've literally ever seen, certainly in my lifetime. I mean, I wasn't alive in 1972. So when you're thinking about the way this is pacing out with a new coach, a new starting quarterback, we haven't had this type of conversation in camp before. Like, not in my career, certainly. So obviously that's what everybody's going to talk about. Now, Ellen Moore has also been at spots where they've had established quarterbacks. He was in Dallas, they had Dak. He was in LA with the Chargers, they had Herbert. He was in Philadelphia, they had Jalen Hurts. So this is new for him as well. It's fair to mention that. Like, this is a new thing for him. And on one hand, in respect, it's kind of cool because you get the ball of clay and you get to mold it how you want. The other part of it is, like, it requires a lot of patience because the New Orleans Saints have a grand total of 0 wins from starting quarterbacks on their roster. There is no quarterback on the roster that has ever won an NFL start. That is daunting when you're trying to find someone who's going to go win games for you next month. Anyway, but Kellen Moore, as he's been asked about this throughout fall camp, hasn't really had much to say about it. Like, for example, Muse, throw out arbitrary Kellen Moore soundbite about quarterback.
Yeah, quarterbacks did a nice job. I think all of them hopped in there, did a really good job. I think, again, as we talk about the focus, there's the physical component, but then there's the operation, and really keen on seeing those guys operate at a really high level.
Did he tell you anything there? Yeah, got it. You got it all.
I heard the word operation. That's
focus
it.
and operation, high level. Muse, throw out arbitrary Kellen Moore soundbite number 2.
Jake did a nice job. I think it's important for all those guys to get different exposures and be around different players in different settings and situations. And so I feel like all those guys responded. I thought this was our cleanest operating practice, which certainly you expect being the third day. But
okay. Maybe a little more. We found out it was the third day?
Third day.
Muse, do we have another arbitrary Kellen Moore? Arbitrary Ellen Moore. Soundbite number 3.
I think Tyler's done a nice job. He's communicating at a really high level. He's making good decisions. As we go through, we'll just continue to evaluate each and every day. These guys will grow every day. And
they're going to grow every day.
Every day.
One day they'll be 6'4". The next day they'll be 6'4 1/4. The next day they'll be 6'4". Unless if you're Jake Haener, you'll be 5'7 1/3, then 5'7 1/2. No good.
Man, come on. No, it's good. It's funny.
I mean, he did put out a glamour shot as a rookie.
Out multiple.
He deserves to be clowned for all there. Do we have any more?
I got one more.
Okay, Muse, if you an arbitrary Kellen Moore, Moore quarterback. Arbitrary Ellen Moore. Quarterback soundbite number 4.
Yeah, those guys done a nice job. Spencer's really decisive, plays confident. He gets the ball out. He's done a nice job, and Jake's done a lot of the same stuff. I think these guys, they've played a little bit more football over the last couple of years, and so their experience, obviously, they can lean on, and they're doing a nice job.
Okay, I'm not poking fun. I am a little bit with the Ellen Moore thing. And with making fun of Jake Haener's height. I'm poking fun a little bit at that. But overall, the point being, he ain't saying nothing because I don't think there's anything to say. You're talking about 3 dudes, none of which that have won a start in the NFL. There just ain't much to say. If he goes to a podium, so to be clear, like I'm defending Ellen Moore here. If he goes to a podium and is gushing over these guys, and then you go into the preseason and they all really struggle the way I think you would expect those guys to struggle as they're sowing their oats in the NFL, he's going to look foolish. So he should be vague. But it's made it very difficult to decipher anything. Well, Moore did an interview with SiriusXM. Was this NFL radio? It was SiriusXM NFL radio. And they asked him about a timeline for naming a starting quarterback.
Yeah, so we're beginning early in training camp, rotating the 3 guys and giving them all different opportunities. And really, ultimately, the reps are balanced. And so we're trying to get these guys with as much exposure as we can. We know as we shift gears towards the Chargers' first preseason game, we're going to have to narrow the focus, create a little bit of a pecking order, and then from there, we will adjust. And whenever we make that decision, obviously, the sooner you make it, awesome. But if it takes us all the way through training camp, we'll take it all the way.
Okay, that's probably the most context he's given, and I can really appreciate that. Yes, you would love to have a very clear leader so you can make a decision so your starter can get all of the starter reps. None of these guys have played. Spencer Rattler played a handful of games last year. Jake Haener has seen mop-up duty, and Tyler Shuck has not played at all. So the faster you can identify someone and get them all of the first-team reps, the better, clearly, because they all need them. But you can't rush making that decision. Practice tells you one thing. Preseason games will tell you more. But if you are looking at the reps, how you heard Kellen Moore say it there, how they're trying to divvy up the reps. Hat tip, I've referenced this a bunch to Ross Jackson. He's done an awesome job at LouisianaSports.net. He is charting literally every single rep that each of the quarterbacks has taken in training camp so far. And this is their passing totals. Again, they did not practice on Friday. They had the day off. Spencer Rattler is 61 out of 83 with 8 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, and he's thrown 3 interceptions. So 61 out of 83 is 73% completion. That's really good for Spencer Rattler. Jake Haener is 9 out of 12. Jake Haener is 52 of 75. That's 69% completion with 5 touchdowns and 1 interception. And then Tyler Shuck is 34 out of 58 for 58% completion with 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So again, just if you're playing this out, you can take this, Paulie. Rattler has 83 passing attempts. Haener has 75 passing attempts. Shuck has 58 passing attempts so far through this point in camp. So you look at it and you go, okay, that's kind of how it should be. Rattler was your starter. He's gotten the most. Haener's been there the longest. He's kind of second. Shuck is the rookie who's feeling his way and getting his sea legs. He's a distant third. And it actually has played out as well. Rattler's completed 73% of his passes with 8 touchdowns. Haener's completed 69% of his passes with 5 touchdowns. And Shuck has completed 58% of his passes with 4 touchdowns. So it kind of looks like that is your pecking order right now. Now, I do believe there is a long-term inevitability of Tyler Shuck winning the job. They used a second-round pick on him. This staff identified Shuck as their guy, and they drafted him. How long does that take? Is it camp? Is it the preseason games? Is it the first month of the season? Is it the first season altogether? I don't know. But what I hope is however this works itself out, you just want one of these guys to establish themselves as a viable starting quarterback in the NFL. Because the only way the Saints are going to get themselves out of this mess where they are, where they're the worst roster in the NFL. It's not my opinion. That's ESPN did their ranking, and they had the Saints as the 32nd ranked roster in the NFL. And that's not unfair. But the only way you're going to get out of it, draft well to where your draft picks become starters, so you have starters on rookie deals, and hit on a quarterback. Because if you hit on a quarterback, then you have that quarterback on a rookie contract where you can then go pay veteran free agents as you reset your cap to build a roster around your young talent that's capable of competing to get into the playoffs and hopefully make a run. Because if you hit on a quarterback, eventually you're going to have to pay that quarterback. And when you do that, it's going to throw your cap situation into it's just a much more challenging cap situation. Ask the Cincinnati Bengals. They've had to decide, do you pay Jamar Chase? Do you pay Trey Hendrickson? Do you pay T. Higgins? Like, when you have to pay Joe Burrow $500 million, it complicates things. So, figure this out and go on your run while you got one of these guys on a rookie deal. But take your time to figure it out. All right, it's After Further Review, brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020, 924-2020 is where you can find the Williamson Eye Center if you want to give them a shout. I saw a video on social media earlier today. It was Dr. Blake Williamson talking about how some people are hesitant, they're tentative, maybe a little fearful of refractive surgery. And, I'll tell you, I was in that number. Like, I was one of those guys who I avoided LASIK for a long time because I was scared of putting a laser on my eye. And then I went and sat down with Dr. Blake Williamson, and Dr. Blake explained to me that LASIK is actually the safest elective procedure in the history of mankind. And he is amazingly talented at walking you through that procedure beforehand, of knowing what to expect, and then during the procedure as well. The way he talks to you, he calls it vocal local, as in local anesthesia. Vocal local. But it's so true. And it puts you at ease throughout the process. I'm telling you, it was a giant nothing burger to go through it. It was so easy to go through LASIK. And Dr. Blake Williamson is the best. So give him a shout at 924-2020, 924-2020. Whatever your reservation is, put it to the side, make that phone call, and go for that consultation at the Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020 or williamsoneye.com. Okay, y'all, it is After Further Review. We'll go around the SEC coming up. Terrio in 28 minutes from right now. Looking forward to having Terrio in studio. Ryan's Letter, Kick Rocks, all that good stuff. A lot of recruiting stuff. LSU did practice today, although there was no media availability at practice today. We will have full practice availability on Saturday. 9:45 a.m. is when the media is allowed in, and we get to watch the entire thing. So after that practice on Saturday, we'll have a full written report for you at louisianasports.net. And then I'll get your podcast up at Locked on LSU. If you don't subscribe on podcast or YouTube, I'd appreciate that. All right, let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back, go around the SEC next on AFR.
After Further Review.
Action Industries is a proud partner of LSU Athletics. And after all, if you're looking for an industrial contractor, why would you hire anyone other than the company that supports LSU Athletics? Action Industries is an official partner of LSU Athletics. So support the company that supports the Tigers. That's Action Industries. You can learn more at actionindinc.com. Action Industries Incorporated, actionindinc.com. 2 physical locations, but they service the plants up and down the river. And if you are looking to hire an industrial contractor to do work inside the fence, even if it's your turnaround jobs, they go with the Advanced Turnaround Group, remember Action Industries. Been around since 1943. They do exceptional work, and their safety record beats the industry standard. Maybe you've got a mega project going on. They can help supplement with their workers, supplement your mega projects. Just give them a shout today and get to know our friends at Action Industries, proud partner of LSU Athletics.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Man, Latavius Murray retired.
Murray, present.
Does that mean we have to retire the Murray drop? I don't know.
We just need to find a new Murray.
Murray, present.
So the Saints signed Latavius Murray back in 2019.
Murray, present.
And remember, he was the heir to Mark Ingram in the whole Thunder and Lightning Ingram-Kamara thing. The Saints and Ingram were sort of at an impasse financially. Ingram ends up signing with the Ravens, and the Saints brought in Latavius Murray.
Murray, present.
And we got to play the drop from Flight of the Conchords, which is awesome. And he was really good in New Orleans. Latavius Murray was.
Murray, present.
Averaged 4.5 yards a carry each of his 2 seasons in New Orleans in 2019 and then the COVID year in 2020. And then he went to Baltimore, incidentally, followed the path Mark Ingram did. And then in 2022, was back in New Orleans, was Latavius Murray.
Murray, present.
And then he joined Sean Payton in Denver, because of course he did.
That's what you do after you've been in New Orleans.
That's what Traquan Smith did.
It is what Traquan Smith did.
That's what Adam Troutman did.
Yep.
That's what little Jordan Humphrey did.
He did that.
Will Lutz.
Marquez Callaway.
All of them. All of them. The Denver Broncos are basically the 2019 New Orleans Saints.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they are. But Latavius Murray came back and it was
Murray,
great.
present.
And then for a hot minute there, LSU basketball had Brandon Murray.
Murray, present.
And then he transferred like 6 times. Remember Brandon Murray went to
present.
Georgetown and he goes somewhere else?
Ole Miss, I think, right? Wasn't he at Ole Miss?
Sounds right. Let's go with it. Who cares?
Maybe McNeese? I don't know.
You know what? If he didn't, he should have.
Yep.
Let's see. Brandon Murray.
Murray, present.
Went from LSU to Georgetown to Ole Miss to McNeese.
Look at that. We nailed them all.
He
I think
did.
a ding for
So,
us.
makes a lot of sense they went and joined Will Wade. But boy, you talk about just like a and you stare Man, let's just walk down runs of that ladder. But every time he was in the news, we got to talk about Brandon Murray.
Murray, present.
But now with Brandon Murray's career over
Murray, present.
and Latavius Murray retired,
Murray, present.
we need a new Murray.
DeJounte Murray?
I think we tried that
Murray,
whenever
present.
the Pelicans signed him.
Yeah.
But he broke his hand. DeJounte Murray
Murray, present.
broke his hand in the first game, and then he ruptured his Achilles, and he's going to miss like all of this year. So, are we? I mean, I don't even know if we're going to talk about the Pelicans anyway.
Yeah.
So, is there really an opportunity?
Probably not. Doesn't sound like it, at least.
Musa, demand you change your name to Murray.
Murray, present.
Matthew Murray Muso.
Murray, present.
No, I don't like that.
Murray Matthew Muso.
That's even worse.
Murray, present.
Matthew Gerard Murray.
What?
Murray, present.
Yep, that's it. Changing your name. Ocho Cinco changed his name to
did.
Ocho Cinco. You're changing your name to Matthew Murray.
Murray, present.
Either that or I'm hiring someone named Murray to replace you.
Why can't we just hire somebody
Murray,
named Murray?
present.
Well, what are they going to do? They got to replace you or Paul, and I'm not replacing Paul,
I don't
so
have to
you're
replace
out.
either of us. I mean,
I told Paul forever, he's not allowed to leave.
they
It's
can,
a rule.
they can help out.
No,
Yeah.
no, I don't like that at all. Looks like Muse is changing his name, or we can call you Murray Muso.
I don't
That
like
would also change all the Matt issues around the building. 'Cause now there's Matt Musso, there's Matt Flynn, there's Matt Moscona, there's also Matt Flynn and Flynn Foster. Way too
Yeah.
many common names. So,
It really
we've
is.
landed on it. You're changing your name from Matt Musso, because we got to keep Muse, to Murray Musso.
Murray, present.
I'll get back to you on that.
Nope, it's done. As I've said many times, this is not a radiocracy. This is a radiotatorship. And I am the radiotator.
You've gotten really good at that now. You don't mess it up anymore.
I do it really slowly to make sure I don't. All right, let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Ellis Ponder is leaving Alabama. You may ask yourself, Matt, who's Ellis Ponder?
Matt, who's Ellis Ponder?
Glad you asked, Murray. Ellis Ponder was Alabama's Associate Athletics Director for Strategic Operations, who is a key deputy under Nick Saban. At least that's what AL.com said anyway. He's leaving to join Jimmy Sexton at CAA.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Tennessee's added four-star two-way recruit Celesi Moa. You may ask yourself, who is Celesi Moa?
Who's Celesi Moa?
Glad you asked, Murray. He's a 6'2", 185-pound recruit from Utah, the number 5 wide receiver in the country, the number 2 prospect in the state of Utah, and he is the son of former NFL running back and UFC fighter Ben Moa. Chose Tennessee over Utah, Michigan, Washington, and Michigan State.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
2026 running back Jordan Avenger has committed to Arkansas, and you may be asking yourself, Scone, who's Jordan Avenger?
Scone, who's Jordan Avenger?
Glad you asked, Murray. He's the 27th commit for the 2026 class there at Arkansas, and he's out of Orangeburg, South Carolina. He's a running back, and he chose the Hogs over co-finalist East Carolina. Stay hot, Sam Pittman. This is why you're going to get fired this year, because you're beating out programs like East Carolina for prospects.
The Florida Gators.
And Mike Peterson Jr. is joining the Florida roster. You may be asking yourself, who's Mike Peterson Jr.?
Who's Mike Peterson Jr.?
Glad you asked, Murray. Why don't you pay attention? Maybe you'll learn some of this stuff. He's the son of Gators coach and former linebacker Mike Peterson. See that there?
Ted Peterson.
Well, no, it's just Mike Peterson. Mike Peterson Jr.
Yeah.
It's Mike Peterson Jr. He's the son of
Mike Sr. Mike Peterson Sr.
Mike Peterson Sr. Good job, Murray. He's a preferred walk-on, so nobody cares. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC. We're brought to you by First South Farm Credit, firstsouthland.com, firstsouthland.com. If you're thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. One of the cool things that First South Farm Credit does, of course, the patronage refund, which I tell you about all the time. This past year, they refunded $25.5 million to their borrowers, which effectively acts as a discount. It lowers your rate of borrowing, in effect. But also, one of the things they do is, no matter how much loan volume that they do, when they have the opportunity with lower rates to reprice your loan and get you a better rate, they will call you and say, we can actually refinance and get you a lower rate. Right? They will call you and make you aware that that's an option. It's some of the stories that that Ben and Tim and the guys who ever told me in the past are funny. How the customers have been like, hey, yeah, right, sure, you're going to call me, and they call and there was some surprised expletives. I go, oh, you did call me. But they're the best. It's First South Farm Credit. They've been doing it for more than 100 years. FirstSouthland.com. FirstSouthland.com. Thinking of buying land? Your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthland.com. All right, we'll knock out our final break of hour number 1. Excited to chat with Howard Dobson when we come back, who is now a champion in professional softball. Former LSU Tiger assistant is going to visit with us for a quick minute when we come back on AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You've been injured in an accident. It's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for more than 3 decades. Get Gordon and get it done. Remember, Gordon's got offices all over the state. An incredible team of attorneys in every corner of the state. They're even licensed outside of the state. So let's say you're on a road trip in Florida. You get into a fender bender. What do? Who do you call? Do you have to go to an attorney in Florida? No, you don't. Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon has a team of attorneys that are licensed even outside of the state of Louisiana so that they can represent you. You don't have to travel. They're local in every market in the state, so you can always call them. 888-8888, 888-8888. Just remember the 8s. 888-8888, or go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com. Of course, Gordon always does so much by way of giving back to the community. We tell you tons about the G Team, all the different NIL programs that he's offered. Court to Table, the new venture here where we were a day ago. Learn more online at getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
At SEC Media Days, I was sitting in the restaurant in the hotel after work, and it was the Monday before the All-Star game, and I looked up, and there was a professional softball game on, which I wasn't even aware, quite honestly, was a thing, but it was the Athletes Unlimited Softball League, and saw a familiar face, and it was a former LSU assistant, longtime assistant Howard Dobson, who, come to find out, was the head coach of the Talons, who won the inaugural championship with former Tiger Savannah Jakewish on the team. And Howard Dobson's good enough to join us for a couple of minutes. Coach, it's a pleasure. Congrats. How are you?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm good. I'm doing well, man. I'm finally getting back to the real world now.
Right.
So, yeah.
How did it come to pass that you became the coach of the Talons?
When I left LSU, coaching there for 13 years, when took a break and retired from it, or left there to go watch my son play his freshman year at UL playing baseball. Go chance to be dad. I had nothing else that was going on. I was trying to find some other work to do, decide what I was going to do, and the AU Jenny Finch gave me a call and asked if I would be interested in coaching the new AU SL, the softball league. If I would be interested in coaching the pro level, and I thought, well, you know what? Why not? Let's do it. And went through those steps and became the head coach of the Talons.
It was also a little odd because there's no home markets for these teams. It was sort of like a traveling league. How did that work out?
Well, it was what we call it, it's like the old baseball term. We were barnstorming. If you remember back in the day in the old baseball leagues, they would barnstorm around. And so it was the inaugural season. What they wanted to do was go around and visit different markets. One, get the attendance of, see what the tents would be like. And two, they wanted to see what facilities could host it. What venues would have the attendance, would have the infrastructure, would have parking, locker rooms, concessions, were able to host an actual professional league. And then next summer, they want to expand by 2 more teams, and they want to give us host sites. So they'll end up going in, and then there will be a Baton Rouge Talons or Louisiana Blaze or whatever it is. So they wanted to barnstorm around first and see, build up the league itself, and then go from there before they put any kind of host site.
The best of 3 championship series was in Tuscaloosa, and the Talons emerged victorious. Savannah Jakewish, LSU's only 4-time All-American, was your catcher. I would assume that, did you call Savannah to be on the roster? How did it come to pass that you all ended up linking up there?
So AU's been around, the Athletes Unlimited has been around since 2020, I believe, during COVID. And they had a tournament-type schedule, and they had players in the league. And so we had a draft in January. We went through all the players that were in the league, and we actually hosted a draft and went through and did 12 rounds and picked players. And then we came back and had a college draft and picked 3 rounds of college players. So we ended up drafting Savannah to be on our team because she's such a utility player. She's so good at playing multiple positions. She can play third. She played short. She played third for us. She can play short if you need to. Second, first. She can play the outfield a little bit, and she can catch. And that type player in that scenario where you only have 16 on the roster and 5 of them are pitchers, and most of those are POs, with having her like that, she's able to do so much for you and still be a hitter. So she's able to relieve people and give people breaks, but also be your everyday third baseman or catcher if you need her to be.
Howard Dobson is our guest. The Talons win the inaugural AUSL championship. Howard, you said so there's a plan for another season next summer. Just give me a thought, obviously being around the sport for as long as you have, about the staying power of a league like this.
They tried multiple years to have a pro league, and it just never could catch on. They tried. This one is a little different. They went about it. Major League Baseball signed on to help support it, to help back it. We played on the Major League Network, MLB Network. We got to play on the TV, the streaming. They used all their social media to help back us. Sephora signed on, so they were a big sponsor for it. And the commissioner is Kim Aing. And I don't know if your listeners or if you're familiar with Kim Aing. Kim was the first female assistant general manager for the Dodgers, the Yankees, and she was the first general manager for the Florida Marlins. And so she signed on to be the commissioner of our whole league. And so to have someone with that credentials, that staying power now became elevated because she knew what it took to be a GM at the MLB level to also be our commissioner. and what direction to go. So it was really cool to see how it's developed and how much it's grown just in the short time we've been doing it.
Yeah. I'm really short on time, probably about 30 seconds. Do you think you'll coach again next year?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Hopefully they'll have me back. Don't tell the chickens before they hatch.
Man, you raised the trophy. I think you're good.
We did. We raised the trophy, so I figured that either way, I win either way. So if they want me back, good. If they don't want me back, I still won the inaugural. We made history. So it would be definitely something to sit down with my family and talk about. I would definitely look at it because it was a really good time. Really enjoyable. It was really fun to do, and the competition was unbelievable. Because you're talking about the 60 of the best players in the country that were playing there. And
I'm up against the hard break, Howard. Congrats, man. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.
AFR.
That's Howard Dobson. My apologies. We ran up against a hard break right there. That's my fault. Howard Dobson, congratulations on the championship. We're brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, Hardy plank vinyl siding. Oh, yeah, they do shutters as well, and they do it better than anyone else. It's Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. I know I say it often, but if you're shopping price, then don't call Relief Windows because they're never going to be the cheapest. Well, because they can't be the cheapest. And you'll understand why when you have the conversations. For example, they have an entire department dedicated to repairs. If you have something going on with your window, their install crews aren't stopping to come over. They have an entire segment of their business dedicated just to doing those types of service calls so they can get to you faster and more effectively. You'll learn. It's Relief Windows. Give them a shout. ReliefWindows.com.